When Home Affairs finally reopens its Cape Town office for refugees, it would be a decade since its closure. The department says it will fulfill a Western Cape High Court order and reopen the refugee reception office by September 2022. The court argued that shutting its doors was unreasonable and irrational, and the closure of the office means refugees and asylum seekers are more vulnerable to arrest and deportation. Well, for more on this, standing by is Roshila Nair, the convener at the Global Self Against Xenophobia and COVID-19 People's Coalition. She's on the line with Dube, a refugee. Roshila, good morning. Hundreds of refugees in the city were displaced after the xenophobic attacks broke out in 2019. How have refugees and asylum seekers been accessing services since then?
Good morning, Annika. Thank you very much for having us on this news item. Dube is my co-convener. And just to say that Global South Against Xenophobia formed precisely in response to this last year when xenophobic attacks occurred again, or xenophobic violence was being threatened in June 2020. But prior to this, the Basic Needs Working Group was finding that refugees and asylum seekers, immigrants, particularly workers and unemployed, were not having access to very basic services such as healthcare. And then when the lockdown occurred, it was also access to food, water, electricity. Most who were employed had lost their jobs. And it was very serious. We were receiving calls from people who were literally starving, falling down, fainting with hunger, mothers falling with children having not been fed for 3 days. And unfortunately, at that time, the DSD was only giving food parcels and aid to South African people in need. So the Scalabrini Center brought a case against the government, and from around September last year, that provision of the SRD grant was made available to non-locals. But even then, it's difficult for them to access because the lack of updated papers hinders them from registering to get access to that SRD grant.
Mercy, I'm going to go to you now. I mean, it must be an administrative nightmare to find your feet in the city. What are some of the biggest challenges that you face as a refugee in the city?
Good morning, and thank you for having me. When you move into a new country, into a new city where you don't know anybody, you are basically afraid because you don't know what is going to happen to you. You don't know the language. You don't know how to fit into the society. So it has been very challenging, and it caused a lot of anxiety because I was very young. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't have a place to stay. And it was a matter of survival that you end up finding yourself in spaces or living with people that you don't know, and you don't even know if you are going to wake up tomorrow alive or not. So it has been very traumatic experience. But at the end of the day, it was a matter of saying, I'm here now and I need to survive. And you just go around asking for information from anybody, and people will send you from pillar to post until you just get the right information to go and apply for an asylum paper, where you also have to go and queue or spend nights on the queue just to have the document signed off to you.
Roshila, very quickly, it's going to take until September 2022 to get the centre up and running again. What do refugees and people who are asylum seeking going to do in the meantime?
This is a very serious issue. 2022 is far too late. At the moment, we have seen since 2019 and even 2020, there's been an alarming daily increase of threats and violence and assaults, arrests on refugees and asylum seekers and migrants in general. The country is becoming more xenophobic, especially we've seen with the last elections where some parties have won on the xenophobia ticket. And besides that, there is a serious problem of access to the vaccine. Currently, the total of undocumented people, including non-locals, is standing at 25%, something like 3.5 million of refugees or non-locals, and about 12.4 million of, or around 12 million of locals. So this is a serious situation.
Oh, that's Roshila Nair. Thank you so much. She's the convener at the Global Self Against Xenophobia and COVID-19 People's Coalition. She was on the line with Dube, a refugee, about some of the struggles that they've been going through trying to get their asylum together here in Cape Town.